Brandon Aiyuk. The last time we had a conversation about Brandon Aiyuk, we were both under the impression that it would probably get done earlier than it did. I was like, look, man, like Brock needs his guy. Like if anybody, if there's any other reason to do this thing quickly is so that Brock has his main weapon. CMC out for most of the preseason with a calf injury. And that did not seem to be that big of a deal because we went all the way until August 29th. And I know Adam Schefter had a report that, a little bit over 2 weeks ago, the Niners had a deal and Ayuk did not sign that deal. And then fast forward to yesterday, and Schefter's side said that was essentially the same deal that they offered him a couple of weeks ago. Now, I'm assuming that information is correct. Schefter is usually on the money with his stuff. But my issue was that why didn't we have this thing done, in June or in May or in April or in March? Because then if you knew what was going on in March, then if this wasn't going to work out, then you could have traded him before the draft. And that was also a sign for us, was that they didn't do this before the draft, which if you trade him after the draft is very stupid because then you have to wait a full year to actually cash in your bounty. And so, yeah, I'm still kind of frustrated with how it happened because what the Niners did is by signing him so late, they let the market explode right in their faces. And, he's not the top paid guy. And I'll go over some numbers here in a second, but he was paid very handsomely. And I do wonder if you actually start doing business, months and months and months ago, then maybe he's one of the receivers who actually creates the market blowing up for other receivers. And instead of him being the one that gets to cash in because of the market blowing up.
100%. I'm so glad that you aren't like some people who just want to like gloss it over and like, oh, it's done. So I want to do a recap because I think it was poorly handled from the beginning. And like you say, now it's like the he said, she said, we are covering our asses. Schefter says it was 2 weeks. Now then I saw Rappaport say that it is essentially the same deal, basically confirming Schefter's report, but then saying that there was more money up front that was added. So they sweetened the pot to make it more front loaded.
Then it's not really the same deal to me.
Right. Exactly. And what we are completely ignoring at this point, which is frustrating, is it's a freaking date on the calendar now, the annual Parag lowball. It's right there. So we're gonna pretend like this was basically the deal he had all along, and he just drug his feet, and there wasn't any lowballing, and this was you're not gonna do that. Like you said, number one, I can't imagine that if they had come to him in March with a serious offer, that the number that they ended up paying would be anywhere close to what this is. Because, the numbers look kind of similar to like Amon-Ra St. Brown's, but BA is getting a whole lot more money up front, which I'm sure is good for him. But from the Niners standpoint, they could have probably saved that money if they had been more serious in the beginning. And this is not, I'm not talking out of school or saying something that everybody who follows knows. This is their MO. They lowball, and then finally they get it done. But why can't we just be serious from the beginning to get it done? And, I understand Parag is driving a hard bargain. He's trying to get the best deal he can for the team. But how did that work? Okay, in this case, in the Nick case, how did that work out? In this case, how did that work out? They still, I'm sure, ended up paying way more than they wanted to. And could have done something made a little better deal for themselves if they had just been serious from the beginning. But it all worked out. But and again, clearly, I've said from the beginning, people talk about the salary cap and they gotta, man, look, if it's not clear to you by now, and if this doesn't make it clear, if it wasn't clear already, if they want to make it happen, if you have the cash and the willingness and the flexibility, the salary cap is not an issue. It's really not, because you can push money all over the place. You can front load it. You can, because they usually have the cash to make that happen. And they did. They have, and that, Lombardi said it, and it's true in a roundabout way. They always make it happen. But what we're not going to do is say like they always make it happen, like this is seamless and they run it well. Like it ends up happening, but there was a lot of bumpy and turbulence that happened. I think happened needlessly.
There is a lot of discussion about whether or not Aiyuk being so public on social media about his thoughts and whether or not those were true and whether it was just him trying to sort of play the fan base against the team in a way. Look, I will say this out front, and if you've listened to this show before, you probably understand this. I am always, let's say 99% pro player when it comes to these kind of things, because I think why do I watch football? I watch football because I enjoy watching the players.
100%.
I am not, I'm not rooting for waterbed Jed and how much money he can take home after, after every game. Like I'm happy that, I'm happy that he owns the team. He
Good for him.
seems to really, really love owning the team. He has made it hard on this franchise in the past, and I know people were kind of harping on that this week, which is, he hired so many of the wrong coaches until Harbaugh became available, and then he and Trent Baalke ran Harbaugh out of town. Probably, Harbaugh could have probably stayed a year longer, and he would have eventually flamed out as well, but there was definitely a shift in a power struggle going on there under Jed's watch, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And then, at that point, hiring Kyle and John Lynch after several years of just going on the cheap for these coaches and not working out, and Jim Tom Sula and Chip Kelly and this and that. And so finally we get Kyle and Lynch, and the best thing that Kyle and Lynch have done for this franchise is they have created stability. We haven't had this up and down and, this coach is possibly on his way out again, and we haven't signed the right guy. Like those guys, from the moment that they've signed until now, they have given this franchise stability. And we know that Lynch had been kind of on the fence of leaving and going into broadcasting, probably for reasons just like this. Let me do the broadcasting because this stuff is crazy. But so I'm always going to be a little biased towards the players in that way. It's just how I look at pro sports. Jed and Parag, they seem to be very aligned in what they believe. And if Parag helped save, 2 pennies on the dollar for Jed, so be it. That is his job. But at the same time, I think they have to understand that they look like villains in this situation, in this scenario. The NFL fan base, I will say, is still kind of in the dark ages when it comes to this kind of stuff. I think the NFL probably more than any pro sport has a certain fan base that really does kind of root for the owners. And, who is more popular in that Dallas Cowboy franchise than Jerry Jones? Probably nobody. So I understand there is that point of view, but I am never going to come from that point of view. I'm always going to be about the players and the market. And then, because look, Brandon Aiyuk could get injured tomorrow. His career could end, and the Niners are only on the hook for that $47 million, I think. And and it's a great number to be on the hook for, but it's not 134 or whatever that overall number is that's getting reported. So I'm always gonna be on that side. Now, I did think that if someone had asked me, Ayuk was acting a little peculiar, I guess. Did the whole hold in? That was the strategy that he and his agent thought that was the right strategy, and then the Niners finally called them on their bluff before right after cutdown day, and then what happened. I just continue to believe that if Parag was serious in negotiations in March or April, this thing wouldn't have gone like it did. And like you said, the Bosa thing happened last year. And next is Brock. Now, maybe the quarterback is a little different, but are they going to try and penny pinch on Brock's deal? Or are they just going to go, look, we understand the market. Let's get this thing done the first opportunity that we can. And then if you're Brock, do you go, maybe we can wait a little bit here. We don't have
Do
to.
I
We don't
want
have to
to?
do this right
Do I
now.
want to wait? Do I want to wait on Dak's deal and see
Yeah.
see what Dak gets, and then and then we can talk. So yeah, that's interesting. I think the show actually might be a little bit more interesting if we weren't of the same mind on these type of things. Because obviously that's how I come down on it. Is I'm always rooting for the player to get all their bread, and that.
You mean we need like a Skip Bayless?
Yeah,
Next to
exactly.
us
We need to, I need to
to
be
just
like,
antagonize.
I need to be like Acho and just be out here just inflaming, saying ridiculous shit just to inflame you guys. But no, it's just it something that I probably spend way too much time thinking about this stuff, but you just brought up something that I have been thinking about recently, and it's been a really successful run for Lynch and Shanahan, but the structure that is set up with Parad kind of handling the business aspect of things, and then Kyle and Lynch, the football operations, you could really see in this scenario and in others, but this one it really kind of highlighted itself to like it seemed to me that the football guys wanted to just get this done and they want to get Trent done, but the business side is doing their thing. And I don't know that if and when this thing does end, which it always does. I mean, nothing lasts forever in these circles. Coaches and GMs move on all the time. I think it might be that friction that eventually ends up, like you said, Lynch has had opportunities, man. Because I don't need this shit. I can just go, talk to teams
and make more money
on Thursday and then fly in on Friday, on Saturday and do the game and go home and play golf. And, I don't have to, I don't have to do this. Like you say, and make more money doing it. So they have provided us stability. And I think, we could nitpick their drafts and whatnot, but I mean, you could look at everybody. I'm at the point where that shit is way more, luck than anything else. I mean, there's come on. It just there are certain things. What I look at with the team is when they make mistakes, what were they trying to, what did they see? And that's something we never know. What did they see and what went wrong based on the process that led them to get to that place? I'm not really a results guy to say, well, this guy was just bad. Well, maybe they made the right decision and it just didn't work out. But yeah, I think they've done a great job, and I thought BA's agent did a wonderful job. I know some people don't like the public part of it, but I mean, like I've said all along, man, he was under contract and wound up having choices. How does that? He was like a mini free agent. I mean, it was, and if the reports are true, if Denver decides to come off of Cortland Sutton, he's in Pittsburgh right now. So I mean, he got his money, and he got it here, which for me, obviously is a win-win. But I wanted him to get his bread. If they didn't want to give it to him, I would have been sad to see him leave. But I just want them to get their money because, as we may talk about later, because I find it extremely fascinating, this whole private equity thing. The owner's going to get their money. They get it now, and then now watch. Franchise prices are going to skyrocket. So they not only are profiting now, but they get the thing that the players do not get to participate in is the growth of the game that happens on their watch, that the owners definitely get to participate in too, which is why I say F them. They should, you fix the cap, give them all the cash. Don't tell me I don't have enough money to cap, blah, blah, blah. No, push them to put their cash on the table now because they are going to recoup on the back end. They're not broke now. And they will generationally benefit from your time and the foundation that you build here now way longer than you will. So I'm all for the players. Take it all, please. So yeah, that's my soapbox.